David O'Neill, Castle RSL Club. Just in relation, we spoke about the transport network sort of coming, improvements to the roads, the rail link and all that type of stuff. And we also said that people will actually start to move into the community. Obviously, we know that there's massive developments planned for multi-storey apartment blocks and things of that nature. What do you think, or what type of talent do you think that will actually bring to the area with people living in those, what demographics, age brackets, and the benefits to the business there?
Yeah, we've done something called the Urban Living Index, which is across Sydney and just looks at the livability as rated by Australians, and it's a look at census data as well to find the most livable areas. And you find that when there is this densification, when there's the newly developed units, when there's we call it the cafe culture, the walkable communities, close to not only cafe and retail, but cultural precincts. You get a real rise in the number of professionals and in young people coming in. It transforms an area, and you've seen that around Ultimo and Chatswood and St Leonard's Croziers, etc. So we're going to have that same transformation here, and so we're in an area where 3 and 4 homes are detached homes in the hills. 1 in 4, the medium high density, and that's probably going to go from 1 in 4 to about 2 in 4. In terms of new housing approvals, certainly we're seeing a massive rise there. So it is going to create these urbanised, walkable, creative communities emerging around these infrastructure hubs. As well as still the garden shy, you're still going to have the families and the households there, and I think that mix is going to be quite transformative. And if we can get higher education happening in the area locally, and you get the full mix, I think that's going to transform things and continue to build the local brand.
Yeah, maybe bring Stephen on that, because this is kind of your line of work. How are you finding, like, with the projects that you're involved in? What's happening?
It's interesting, Tony. It's one thing that we do with a lot of our projects is actually take different councils from certain areas out to look at the projects we're doing, because a lot of people look at it and they say, well, you're building for instance, 850 apartments in one location, and what are you building there? You're building a ghetto or a slum or whatever, and it's completely the opposite. And once they've been out there and looked at them, they really understand what you can actually provide as services, and it just turns it around totally. So if you compare, for instance, let's say a project where we'll build 50 apartments, and those 50 apartments, when we're finished, we hand over, they've got to pay their strata levies. And those strata levies have got to pay the maintenance of all the things that we've built. So if we build a swimming pool, for instance, those 50 people are required to get that swimming pool. And it's a big cost if you put in a gymnasium or you put in something else and something else. It just doesn't stack up. So not only as a developer can't you provide those things to get your money back at day one, the people that are left with them can't provide the maintenance that's required. If you look at the current project, for instance, at Woolooware Bay, where we're doing the town centre, we're doing 850 apartments. It's got 3 swimming pools, a resort pool, a rooftop pool. It's got a lap pool in the gymnasium. It's got a full gymnasium. It's got a spa. We've got things like refrigerated cabinets behind in each foyer, so that you can get by our internet to our shopping centre we're building on site and get your groceries delivered. That's put inside in your refrigerated cabinet. You come home and you've got your receipt, you press the numbers, that pops out straight away, you can take it up to your room. It's got so many extras like that, a men's shed, for instance, for the older people that are in there. It's got community facilities, and all those things, one, as a developer, attract people in there, but also with the size of the projects, because they're larger size projects, people can afford to maintain them. But what we're noticing now with those projects, it's where people want to live as a smaller community in that little area, and you get a mix of older people and younger people and university students and those sorts of things. But it changes an area. Rosebery, for instance, we built on the old side of the RTA building, and you just wouldn't believe now the culture that's around there with the cafes and the retails and the trendy sort of things, the grounds, for instance, if you've been there. Those are the things that come with that new urbanisation, that you'd actually change areas. And that's what I say about people that will come to work for the Hills, in the Hills District. When the train comes, you'll see those people want to live out here as well, so they'll move out as well. So it's sort of self-generating, between the both sort of different modes.
Wonderful. I like the idea of, we talk about business culture, but now we're talking about like local area culture within the dwellings and also within the areas that they live, which is fantastic.
Well, you mentioned ResMed, for instance. We tried for years to get ResMed to move out of Macquarie Park, but the pharmaceutical groups all like to work in Macquarie Park because they like to steal different staff of each other and everywhere. But it's a community of those sort of people working in that area. And that's what you find as well when you get somewhere working like Norwest. When we first started, trying to get people to go there and that, council after council, once it caught on in the late 90s, would come out and say, we want one of these. And here we go, like, how are we going to get a Norwest? And so many councils tried to do it, but it just didn't work. And people would always say to me, where is the next Norwest? Where can we go to invest, or where can we do that? Well, the next Norwest today is at Norwest, because it's now going to double in size, and that's where the opportunities go for both living and for work and for investment as well. So it's again, self-generating.